Yee. God bless you, all of my brothers and my sisters. I want to say, may God's grace and peace be with you. I just wanted to come here and talk about some of the stuff that I was thinking about this morning as I was reading in Ezekiel. And in Ezekiel, um, the specific chapter that I was reading, I'm gonna put it so where you can see it. God was telling Israel how he placed him in the middle of the nations on purpose. There was a reason why God had placed them in the position that he placed them in for a specific reason. And as God removed them from Egypt and he placed them where he placed them, he wanted to use Israel as a country to influence the nations that surrounded them. Because at the time, the nations that surrounded Israel were countries and nations that were ignorant of who God really was. Either they were serving other gods in their own ways, whether they were trying to worship the sun or the moon and the stars and whatever it was. God wanted to use Israel to bring a change in the systems that were in these nations, that they no longer would serve the creation, but to serve the one rather, who created them. But Israel failed to do that. They fell off and followed after the footsteps of the Egyptians, of the Canaanites, of all the nations that surrounded them, rather than walking in the purpose that God brought them and placed them in. They started doing the things that the nations that surrounded them were doing. The nations surrounding them wanted to sacrifice their babies in the fire. All right, we're going to do the same thing. The nations were cutting out trees and making them and calling them gods. Well, let's do that too. You know, the nations were doing a lot of perverse stuff amongst themselves. Well, why don't we do that as well? They failed in what God wanted them to show the world. And as us in this generation right now, I want to encourage each and every one of you and remind you that God has placed you strategically. Sorry, I said it. I just can't say the word. I'm trying to say it. But on purpose. He placed you where you are on purpose to influence the people that he has allowed you to have influence on. You could have an influence on one person or your family or a million people. Wherever God has placed you, you have a responsibility to not only speak about God and about what he wants from us, but we have a responsibility to live out what he has called us to do. You know, James talks about not being a hearer of the word, but a doer of the word. God placed you on purpose to show people what it is to love somebody. God placed you where you are to show what it is to have peace in a chaotic situation. God placed you where you are and have to show what it means to have joy when someone you love dies. What does it mean to have joy when you lose your only child? What does it mean to have joy when you have corona? What does it mean to have joy when something happens to you that's traumatic? What does it look like to praise God in a situation that someone who doesn't know God would think is crazy, to lift up your hands and say praise God for a situation that you really don't want to be in? God has on purpose done these things for you to show what does it mean to be a Christian. What does it mean to be a disciple of Jesus Christ? What does it mean to have faith in God? What does it look like to put your trust in God? We don't want for us to become as Israel did. God was very upset with Israel when they did not show the nations around them what does it look like to be a wise people, a people who know what it means to trust in God, a people who knows what it means to walk in their purpose. So I want to encourage you, my brothers and my sisters, please don't forget what and where God has placed you and what influence you have over whoever God has allowed you to have influence over. Please remember, God has redeemed you so that you may be a light to a dark and confused world. A world looking and searching for their creator. They're searching for a truth and they want to see it in us. So brothers and sisters, let's live out this gospel. All right. That's enough. God bless you.